Hello everyone, Mark here with Mark's Max Muscle, and it is time again for a fan-requested comparison. Candace and Blue Sloan, nice name. Great video, brother. Could you do Dennis James versus Markus Ruhl? Maybe 2004 version. Thanks. That is my impression of Candace and Blue Sloan. Either way, I was unable to do a 2004 comparison. Hard to find pictures of either of these guys. For the most part, I am using 2004 for Markus Ruhl. This is actually a 2008 Dennis James, but for the most part, I will be using 2005. Couldn't find the '05 front relaxed. Both of these guys are colossuses, just massive big balls of muscle. Neither guy willing to back up an inch. I'm telling you, it is going to be a tight matchup. I mean, neither one of them are the most aesthetic creatures on the earth. I mean, me myself, my physique, could handily defeat these guys in a front relaxed position. Whoa, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean put it on. All right. I make fun of these guys' physiques, so there you go. Make fun of my little chicken wings or whatever you guys call them, the arms of mine. And if you think that you are able to stand up against these guys, then hey, go ahead. This is what I look like compared to these guys. A thin, tall glass of white milk. As these two dudes display their back developments, it is plain for me to see that neither one of these guys are getting a point in the front or rear relaxed position, so it is pretty up and down with these two. It's even. The back development of Dennis James, look at those thick traps and those massive glutes to boot. Now, if it weren't for those ugly little tiny whiffles of glutes of Markus Ruhl, I would give him this one because of his Christmas tree. The traps are not nearly as thick as Dennis James, though. You see what I mean? That little sucked-in bum that he has. It looks like an old man's bum. Not that I've looked at old men's bums before, but, you go to the swimming place or whatever, the YMYWCA, whatever you would call it. You run into old men's bums, and that's what it looks like, Markus Ruhl. So pretty much a tie game with the front and rear relaxed positions. Meat and potatoes time. The front double biceps of each of these specimens. I have to say, the 2002 Markus Ruhl, not nearly as good as the '04 version, but for some reason, the cameramen, they didn't get straightforward shots of this guy. They were taking them from the side. But either way, this 2005 Dennis James, he was probably better in 2003. But heck, there was no pictures of him in 2003, so it's pretty fair. I think Markus Ruhl would fetch a point. He's a little bit better in the front double bicep pose. Look at those guns. And yes, Dennis has a smaller waist, but he has no ab separation. Either way, Big Ruhl gets one point here with those big massive guns of his. I would wager to say Markus is also getting a point in the front lat spread, although it is a very tough one to judge between these two. Markus just seems to be a little bit harder and grainier, and of course the ab separation is going to fetch him edges. He's going to get an edge on almost all of the front poses because Dennis James, those abs are just very unaesthetically pleasing. Markus also, his lats are a little bit more pronounced. So a tight matchup so far, 2-0. And this is a little unfair for Dennis James. This is not a very flattering angle or the picture. It doesn't show his legs either, and I believe he would have got an edge in the leg department. So why don't we bring this version on here? Look at the size of Dennis James here. Boom, cheap, boom, cheap. Look at the size of him. Boom, cheap. If you don't like this version, there is this one too. Boom, cheap. Boom, cheap. I would give it to Dennis James. Look at the size of him. A little bit of Palumboism there. And furthermore, when was the last time you heard somebody say the word Palumboism? Dave Palumbo sure battled back from that little onslaught of bullyism. Bullies, making fun of RX Muscle host Dave Palumbo. The truth in bodybuilding. Bunch of bullies. You want to fight with somebody, you fight with me. Anyway, the side tricep pose of both of these guys, not very flattering. The arm, a little bit wishy-washy in terms of the tricep development for Markus Ruhl. His breast seems to be odd-shaped as well. Looks like, I hate to call him an old man again, an old man bum, but he has an old man teat as well. Dennis James, his arm looks good, and the leg display, very good. But his belly button seems to be going, you know what I mean? It looks like a tongue sticking out going. But I am going to go with Dennis James in this because you can clearly see that tricep development a little bit better. Okay, back developments, guys. This could make or break this little competition. Markus Ruhl, the back on him, as wide as a bus. And for a newcomer judging these, I could see somebody giving this one to Markus Ruhl. His glutes are massive, his quads are massive. You can see the quads from behind even. The hamstrings, not bad at all as far as the separation's concerned. But I'm smarter than that. I'm a more advanced judge. I'm getting better at this the more I do it. Those glutes, that's all I need to say. The glutes of Dennis James, he is a contender here. When you look at the difference there, Markus Ruhl still in the stewing pot. He needs another month of dieting, of conditioning. Dennis James, not as big here, but gets a point. The rear double bicep is on equal ground with me, although those guns of Markus Ruhl, they may swayed somebody's decision on this and give it to him. But the lower back, the glutes, a lot of water being held there. And that's bodybuilding, guys. It's not like Dennis James is built like me with no muscle whatsoever. This guy has inches and inches and feet of muscle just packed onto that frame. Not as much as Markus, but much more conditioned. Look at those glutes. Dennis James fetches another point. Ab and thigh time, and it is time for Markus Ruhl to take one back here. Dennis James, the abs, it looks like Phil Heath, what can I say? You guys ever notice Dennis James, his pecs down below here? I'll circle it. You see that? A lot of his poses, it looks like he has some synthol or something pumped into there. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying there's something going on with Dennis James' pecs. Have a good look at some of his pictures and you can see what I mean. Either way, the abs of Markus Ruhl, he is big and clunky in physique, but good ripped set of abs. Gets a point. And here we are with the most muscular. And this is a tough one, guys. Dennis James, much more aesthetic. Those round muscle bellies looks more pleasing in that light. But Markus Ruhl is just a big, hard, grainy, massive ball of muscle. Look at the size of him. Is it just me, or to the top of Markus Ruhl's abs, it looks like he's holding on to a penis? Either way, once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. Let's go to another most muscular pose. And we're going to finish this one off with this, the final most muscular. I'm going to call this one the Roly Winkler. It's not really a hands clasped. It's the way Roly shoots it, snaps it. Man, it's almost a virtual tie here. Like I said, Markus Ruhl's bigger, even harder and grainier perhaps. Because Dennis James hard as a rock as well. But those round muscle bellies, Dennis James looks much more aesthetically pleasing. I have Dennis James leading by 1 point heading into this most muscular, and it is a tight decision, I'm here to tell you, in this pose. So even if it is a tie in this one, Dennis James leads by 1 point, so I'm going to give him the victory. It was a nice little matchup, though, I will say. Congratulations, Dennis James. Good win, good win. The battle of the German giants. You didn't think I was going to say that any time in this matchup, did you? But it's the battle of the German giants, and I hope you liked it. Hit the thumbs up button if you did, and go ahead and tap the subscribe button as well. Only helps me. Have a great day, guys.